morning I ran the Come to the River 10K here in Lansing, Michigan. I came in first in my age group, 11th overall. I was behind a MSU runner and a bunch of high school cross-country kids, so I was the first finisher over the age of like 22. So thumbs up on that. I got first in my age group, and pretty happy from that aspect of it. A little bit don't know really what to think about this race. For one thing, my Garmin had it short by like 0.15 miles. So my time was a little bit slower than the last healthy 10K I had back in February-ish, that I wasn't really tapered for either, just like this race. Granted, it was a lot cooler then, but even today it wasn't super hot out. It was actually pretty cool. The race was at 8:15 in the morning, so it was still pretty cool out. So I don't really know what to make of that. The courses are different, obviously. I don't know exactly how much. I could maybe go back and look at the elevation differences to see if that race was hillier or this one was. But kind of have mixed feelings overall. It definitely wasn't a bad performance. If it was a full 10K, it puts me on track for my goal marathon time. It's hard to know when my Garmin is off, by that amount, whether it really was a short course or not. So I really don't know what to make of it, but definitely not a bad performance, not a great performance. But considering my legs are pretty tired, I'm running doubles. I ran doubles 4 days this week, so my legs are pretty tired. I'm getting to the end of my training cycle here. I got one more week of training and then the taper for the marathon coming up. So legs are pretty much as tired as they're gonna be. So a little bit of good, little bit not great. I would have been happier if I had been faster. Obviously, I would have been happier if the race didn't come up short on my Garmin. So that throws in kind of an X factor. But the course was pretty cool. It was along the river trail. I've run several races along. Pretty nice course. It had a lot of actually like 90-degree turns and stuff, so it definitely wasn't like an optimal 10K. And it was also an out and back course, and it was like a hairpin turn. Like, I mean, you literally had to stop to turn and run back. So definitely not optimal for keeping your pace going. And there were some hills. The course is kind of a little, nothing that you would really call a hill, but there were, things like bridges and little inclines and declines and stuff like that. So, again, good race, local race. I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to run this race, but it's here in Lansing. It was a 10-minute drive or whatever to get to the race, so I didn't have to drive, across the state to get to it. So that's basically what I was looking for. One kind of interesting thing that happened right at the end, like I said, this group of cross-country kids, they must have, I think they went to the same school or whatever, and they were like there because their coach or someone was like talking to them and like, go out for a mile run before the race, and like coaching them. So I'm pretty sure they were actual athletes. And so I was behind, the group of them went out together, like 8, 9, 10 of them, whatever it was. And they were going out pretty darn fast. I stayed behind them a little bit, and caught one of the kids that had been in that group with about a quarter mile to go, maybe something along that lines, and just missed it. He right as I was catching up to him, he started to pull ahead again. He was motivated to stay in front of me, and I missed him by 0.7 seconds at the tape. So kind of regret that a little bit. Like, I should have pushed a little bit harder. I was staying back. I was letting him kind of get away from me because I knew when I kicked in my kick, I'd be able to catch him. But probably should have started just a little bit early or not let him get out as far as he did. But came that I mean, it was so close, so I could have been 10th overall relatively easily, but it is what it is. I'm not heartbroken about it or anything. So it was a nice race. The course wasn't really well marked. They had volunteers out there in certain points, but there was at least 1 or 2 places where I was like, I'm just gonna guess that we're supposed to go this way and hope it's right, because there were like no obvious markers. There was one place where I did that where there was like a little tiny sign in the ground, but by the time I could read it, I was like right there. So there were a couple times where I was like almost going off the course. So that could have been a little bit better. They could have either had, you know, more barriers or, you know, cones or something set up there to make that a little bit more obvious for people who haven't run the course before and don't know their way around. So, but yeah, overall not much to complain about. Generally pretty happy with the results. Felt pretty good. One thing that bothers me a little bit is my pace has started to slow down throughout the race. Like I think each mile, just gradually I slowed down throughout the race. So I really don't like to see that, especially going into a marathon. But again, when you're in the middle of training, I didn't really taper for this race. It's hard to know what pace to go out at. It's hard to know what you're capable of when you're not fully tapered. So I'm not going to beat myself up about that. It was just, it was like my slowest mile was like 11 seconds slower than my fastest mile. So it's not like I had a huge drop off there, but just one thing you don't like to see, especially that last mile, you like to see a little bit faster. But in this case, the last mile was actually aggressively uphill. So give myself a little bit of a pass for that reason too. So, so yeah, that's about all I have to say about this race. A little bit of a meh, a little bit, you know, I guess I feel more positive than negative, but not, you know, like gangbusters like I felt last February before I got injured. So still a little bit like unsure about how the marathon's going to go, if I'm going to be able to hit my goal pace. I really hope I can. I got one more tune-up coming up in 2 weeks, so we'll see how that goes. It's a team relay marathon, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I'll do well. Hopefully I'll start feeling better once I get into that taper. Legs get a little fresher, and hoping my endurance is there. That's the biggest thing. Like, I just hope I can hang on to that pace for the 26.2 miles and not come up short. But we'll see how it goes. I'll report back about my next tune-up race and then get ready for Marquette in 4 weeks from today. So subscribe if you like this content. I got some more reviews coming up, and thank you again.